Buenos días or buenas tardes or noches. Uh, to give you a little more information about this week that's a little different, you're going to have a lot more variety in what you decide to do. The general theme and information that is included will be standard kind of across all of the options, but you are going to be able to choose how you're going to demonstrate your ability to share information in Spanish as well as about the culture of a country that you have selected. So let's go ahead and look at this together. Remember to look through the announcement and see exactly where we're going. We're going to Unidad 6, ¿a dónde vas? Still there in Sesión 7, Cultura y Choice Assessment. This is going to be the unit's assessment, so be sure that you are staying as true to the Spanish that you can use as possible without relying on any kind of translation aid. So notice this is going to be over 2 weeks. Our live class sessions are coming back. So be prepared for that on Thursdays. So I'm going to just scroll down to the current unit, Unidad 6, and I'm going to open up our unit here in the Cultura, but I'm going to actually skip ahead a little bit to notice the vocabulario importante and then all these options. We're going to go through those together. So there's two main words in here that I really want you to understand. El país, which is a country, and notice that there's the audio recording to know how to say it. La gente is a very common way to say people. You can say las personas, but la gente is a little more common. I'm going to want you to look at and see some information about Mexico City, which is DF, District Federal, Distrito Federal. It's like our DC. Now, for your choice assessment, there are going to be 4 options. You must choose one of them, and within that, you're going to be given specific instructions as to how to add both verbal and written Spanish, as well as some English. So you can choose to create a simple story, create a travel blog, create a travel advertisement or website, something that you might see in a pop-up, or a visit a website. Or you can go through and there are some questions and both written and spoken in VoiceThread or by way of a worksheet that you can just go through that if you'd rather not have a little more fun with it and make it more creative. So I am in the process right now of creating the tutorial that's going to go right here. But remember, you're going to choose one of those 4 and you're going to include both written and verbal Spanish. So the overall instructions for everyone, no matter which of the options you choose, you will need to do the following. You must pick a Spanish-speaking country or country in which Spanish is the primary language. This can be the same country that you did your research for your menu, and so this will just give you some more information about it. Or you can choose a different one. Make sure though that they speak Spanish. Brazil is Portuguese, it is not Spanish. And Belize is actually English is its primary language. So neither of those 2 would work, but most other Central and South American countries do. Most. There are a couple that have French though, so be careful of that in South America. Some things that you need to look up. I give you some more sites to help you, guide you. Of course, you can go to others as well. We're looking now for location, geography, a little bit of a history behind it, as well as the daily life for its citizens. What do people do when they're there? A timeline, expect you to be researching 1 to 2 days, more likely close to 2 days. You're going to have rough draft with editing about 2 to 3 days, and then your final work. You're going to clean up and submit. Should take you a day or 2. Okay, so that's your timeline. I also give you the timeline in the updates. Now, you're going to have two rubrics that I'll be looking at. This general rubric, make sure you're looking at. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yes, you can. It's the one that you have seen throughout the school year. It's going to be more how do I expect your Spanish to be put together? Oh, and it's not coming up very well. Notice that to be proficient is at novice mid, and here's where you're using a limited number of words and phrases. Me gusta counts as a phrase. So me gustan deportes is more of a phrase than it is a sentence. You might be able to put some together, maybe por qué, if you had the por qué in there and explain why, then obviously you've made it into a more advanced sentence and you're starting to move into more novice high. You can be understood with some difficulty. Things are going to need to be heard more than once by me as well as for you to understand. But I am going to be able to, even if I have to struggle some with it, I am going to be able to understand what you want to say. So keeping it very, very simple. That's going to be your main thing. So that's the Spanish, how the Spanish is going to look. There's going to be a slightly different rubric, which I can only attach in the assignment page itself, the Dropbox. So we'll look at that at the end of this. So everybody needs to do this research. Everyone must research this kind of information, location, geography, history, what people do there. Around a country in which people speak Spanish as the primary language, but how you share that information is up to you. One option, and notice I'm using the next to go from slide to slide. We're gonna go through all of these, and then you on your own will be able to move through this at the pace that you would like to be able to determine which you want. And of course, if you start creating one of these options and realize, you know what, this isn't working very well for me, you can tweak it so that, or rewrite it so that it fits one of the others. You can create a simple story, something like what we've been using this year as well, where it's repetitive, you have one character and that person is doing things in the country. You want to make sure though that there are 7 questions that I have in Spanish. You need to make sure that if it is written, so notice this, if it's you're going to have written and the submitted verbal, you must include information that would answer these questions in your story. Now, outside of the story, you're going to answer this last one. In English and or Spanish, ¿cómo se compara este país a los Estados Unidos? So how does this country, the one you chose, compare to the USA? That is going to be separate. In your story, I expect all of these, the Spanish questions that are on the second bullet point, to be included. The other idea, your brief description, as well as how do they compare, those are going to be separate from your story. Okay, remember the bibliography as well. You're provided with some stories like we've used in here. As of right now, I don't have any student exemplars to share with you. You guys would be creating them for future classes. So I apologize for that. But of course, if you have any questions, I would love for you to contact me. I also give you a self-editing checklist, how to create your bibliography to help you as you're moving from rough draft into your final draft that you're going to submit. That's one option. You can choose that, or you may choose to create a travel blog. Imagine that you have traveled to this country. In English, you're writing about 2 specific locations. Notice this is all the same. The information for the questions 1 through 7 that are in Spanish must be included in Spanish. And here, I need for you to write your responses to 1 to 3. And then go ahead and speak 4 through 7 as a guideline. If you decide that you would like to answer some of these spoken versus written, as long as half of them are written and half are spoken, I'm fine with that. Once again, then the comparison, that what needs to somehow end up within your blog. So for this, as in a blog, it's going to be easier that you could meld all of this together. Things can be interspersed. You could have some English and Spanish on a single entry. But I do want you to have multiple entries, as if you're writing, recording this over a period of time. Now I give you some student examples of this. They don't have the verbal, but you must, because that's been something that's been changed from previous years to this year. So this is also down here. I give you links to Google Blogger. If you prefer to use a different type of blog site, then just make sure that you share it with me along with these as well. So you may choose this option, or opción 3. You're going to create a travel advertisement or a website in both Spanish and English that will have both Spanish and English. So it can be like a pop-up ad on a like you get when you're checking your email. It could be a radio announcement that you might hear, or one of those that pops up that has audio to it. So it might have some written and some audio. Your final project must have some written and verbal. They can be two separate pieces where you respond to some of this, and when I say written and verbal, the span